I have with me on the line my guest for this morning, Mr. Arcelio Hartley, VP of the Board of Directors for CGM and Director for Panama Sankofa. And a very good morning to you, sir. How was that for good timing?
So good to be with you this morning, Jerry. Good morning to you and to the listeners.
No, thank you so much for calling in. Now, I was mentioning earlier, now, if I hope I got it right, CGM, we're talking about the cemeteries. We're talking about Corozal, Gatun, and Mount Hope. That's correct, yes?
That is correct.
Oh, I'm glad my memory's pretty good. Now, one thing I want to make, because, sadly, we've been, talking about this for years here on the Breakfast Show with different members of CGM, and it's always the same story, which is rather sad, which is the neglect of these cemeteries. That is
so true. And at present, Jerry, if anyone were to pass by at Corozal or even at Mount Hope, you would find that the conditions are similar to what they were 5 years ago when we started this. Of course, the pandemic has had its own effect, but we feel also that it's just an opportunity for neglect, and that's what we're evidencing here. The cemeteries are in terrible shape, even as we live through this pandemic situation.
I mean, it's so sad because this is such an important part of, what is Panama? It's part of our history, and, it's something we should be taking pride in. Of course, something that we should be honoring by maintaining these cemeteries is the memories of those that, lost their lives at the time, and of course those that passed on later. And it's disrespectful, to be perfectly honest.
We feel that way. We feel certainly that way, that these cemeteries, in fact, by law, they have been declared, the Law 7 of 2012 in Panama, they were declared historic sites, heritage sites. And therefore, they should be maintained. It's as you do museum pieces. They're historic pieces that we want to showcase a part of the history, because it represents a singular part of Panama's history, which is the construction of the canal. So people that are buried in these places, mostly West Indians, who came and who were part of the building project, and later on part of the operating of the canal.
Right, exactly.
They have done a great contribution to Panama's development as it stands today. And so we would hope that there would be a greater sense of honor and dignity in preserving these places.
And don't forget pride.
Yes, definitely. And so we're really disappointed. I see, for example, in the communities, especially in the Ancon area, I see that they still cut the grass. They're still maintaining in the communities. They're still maintaining. There's not an overgrowth of grass in these areas. So if they can maintain the communities where people are presently living, we're certain that they can maintain the areas where these people these bodies are resting, because they should be a showcase for or pride of our history of what the contribution has been. We're really saddened at the fact that all those who were part of that, particularly they were blacks, they were black West Indians. They have been relegated into a sort of oblivion, and they almost would want to be forgotten and just disconnected from being a real part of the legend or the legacy of what Panama is today. So,
well, perhaps the old legacy of gold and silver is still there.
We don't doubt that. There's always streams of that will come flowing through, and there are threads that hold on to the past. There's some who would rather just wipe it off from their memories. They would rather not think about it. Not out of mind, out of sight. I mean, out of sight, out of mind. Some people say.
Yeah.
And so this is what happens with this area. We have been really hoping that it will become part of what is the Panama Canal tour. People come to Panama, they come to Panama, they want to see the canal. But as you connect with the canal, you want to visit the canal. You might go to Miraflores, you go to the administration building. Well, there should also be a part of that tour that would include the cemeteries. Because they actually give you a link to the past. They give you a link into reality of the past. And we're kind of disappointed that either the government officials or even the Panama Canal authorities have not seen it in that light and have made the effort to connect those dots and maintain that historical strength for all these times. So we're hoping. Our work is towards that aim, towards sort of bombarding the consciences, waking up folks to this reality, and as much as we can, getting both the government and other community members to be a part of maintaining these areas in a dignified manner.
Absolutely. Now, tell me, I mean, I'm familiar with all, but CGM, it says here, the parent organization of PAN Caribbean Sankofa, which is a division. Tell me a little bit about that, Arcelio.
Okay, Sankofa is a new arm. It's a division that's come out of CGM, and it's resulting from a visit that was made, actually. I know the founder of CGM, Frances Williams Yearwood,
she came on the program, I believe.
She was on the program 2 years back. And she visited the University of Florida in Gainesville last year because the University of Gainesville has a museum that was developed by ex-Canal Zone, Americans from the Canal Zone.
Oh, okay.
And it's an impressive museum. It's not a super large, but it's a very nice museum. And they, however, have, with all the artifacts and little memorabilia that they would have in that museum, it doesn't really portray at any point that there were West Indians living in the Canal Zone. And so some years ago, I know a fellow from Rainbow City visited Edward Collins, and he became alarmed as well. And he, at that point, made it a duty to go out and collect your old yearbooks from both Paraiso and Rainbow City, and donated it to the museum so that it would have something that referenced them back to the West Indian communities. Well, last year when Frances visited, she visited with the hopes of promoting CGM as an organization, and she also became alarmed. It was her first visit to the museum. But on another occasion, she decided to speak with the curator, and he agreed. And he said, let's get together, let's sit, let's talk about it, let's see how we can correct this, because in all honesty, the University of Florida aims, and their ambition is to be the central area for research in regards to West Indian and Latin American history. And so they're willing to collect all that they can to make sure that they are the number one place for research. And so as we sat and talked about how could we correct this, how can we introduce the lives of the West Indians into the museum, we're recognizing that we don't have a lot of memorabilia that we can collect at this time.
Right.
It's hard for me to go out and locate something like an icebox, and that's something that came out in many of our interviews. The icebox that was part of the old communities back in...
Oh, really? Yeah.
La Boca, Red Tank, Silver City, and where people would actually have ice in a block of ice into a box in order to keep their things cool. Well, we don't have that opportunity to bring those and make them a part of the museum. So the museum, they decide, well, why don't we just go out and collect oral histories? People talk about the lives of the past. And we would digitalize these and make it available for anyone to be able to sit, listen to, if there's a person who wants to do research or a person just wants to hear about what history and life was like. So we have determined to do that, and we started. We have already collected probably about a dozen interviews, and it's a rich process. I mean, it's an eye-opening thing to sit and listen and hear folks that were born right at this present time. We're trying to reach folks that were born between the years of 1910 to 1945. Folks that would be 75 years and above. And we're talking to folks, and you're amazed. Many of them, I am impressed that their memory is even sharper than mine. And they go back.
That makes two of us.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing, but that's the reality. We're finding folks that were so connected with their time in life and their growing up experiences that it's rich and it's really there. And they're sharing this, and you sit and you don't want to stop. We've had to do 2 sessions with a couple of people because it was just so much And, we sit for 2.5 hours, and then we said, we need a cut. We need to continue at another time.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting process that we're in, and we're just reaching out to the community to ask them to get involved.
Oh, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And I mean, I was just thinking while you were talking about that, Arcelio, what would be a nice idea would be, if you mentioned that if the cemeteries could be included in a tour or whatever, but wouldn't it be nice if if people, when they visited, say, the Corozal Cemetery, Ghetto, Manhoef, if you had these little things that you could put in or an app on your phone that people could sort of go around and listen to some of these stories at the same time. In other words, taking the stories actually to the place where the cemeteries are.
Gerry, you are connecting to exactly what our dream is. Our dream is exactly that. We're hoping that there would be, like in Corozal or in Mount Hope, that there would be a building that people could go into and
exactly.
See, you could probably have computers that could give them some references and give them talks.
Mm-hmm.
And as they go through the cemetery, which is actually in a pleasant condition to visit, we'll be able to connect. There are historical people buried in these cemeteries.
Sure.
On both sides, both on the Atlantic side and on the Pacific side, there are people here. And there's nothing better than connecting to a real person. When go back to the history. And so that's what the cemeteries give us an opportunity to do. And so we're hoping to work. That's our work or ambition or desire is to reach that point where we can actually make it a live, rich experience for people, and it's something that they would want to do. We have that in other places. People visit Arlington. People visit in Argentina. There are cemeteries that people visit in France. There are cemeteries that people go out there and they walk and they connect with that historical value of the people that are buried there. And that's what we have, what our hope is for these cemeteries that have been declared by law, to be heritage sites for Panama, historical heritage sites for Panama. And we want that the government and everybody else would be interested in preserving them in that stature.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I love the idea. I was thinking the same thing. If you had a little building, with some pictures going back to those times. And I say now you get these little devices. And of course, it's a good way of raising money as well. If you want to take one of these little devices and listen to the stories as you walk around the cemetery, for $10 or something, you can earn a little bit of money that goes back in the kitty. And I would imagine as well, compiling all these stories and editing them, etc., is either on a voluntary basis or is costing a little bit of money to do as well.
That is correct. And in fact, we have, Panama's finally gotten a few years ago, they developed, some investors came in and they developed the hop-on, hop-off tour bus.
Exactly.
And there's no reason why that tour bus would not have included in its route a pass through the cemetery. And they connect and they talk about, and you have all these, you capture this vivid reality of the past as you pass through it, and then somebody gives you the history. So.
And tell me, the welfare of, you mentioned, of course, the Panama Canal itself, but does this come under the Ministry of Culture or anything?
It does. It is part. Because they're heritage sites, they're historic heritage sites, they are actually the responsibility of the Ministry of Culture. And this is where we have been knocking the doors, and we have been conversing with them. Unfortunately, one of the things that affects us is that every time there's a change in government, and
sure.
For example, we started 5 years ago, and 5 years ago we overlapped into the Martinelli government. We're part of Varela's government, now we're into the PRD. And so every time there are changes, and we have to go back and almost start all over again, and it just puts a damper onto what the effort that we're trying to make. At this point, this new government is in, but the pandemic closes down almost.
No, absolutely. I guess in a way quite legitimate excuses. Of course, so much money has been poured into to keeping people on their feet while people are out of work. But the thing is, they must also remember that there is, if it's a law, they do have a legal requirement to keep them maintained.
That's right. And the thing is, like I say, as far as keeping people at work, it should be in our interest, wherever it's possible, to keep people at work.
Yeah.
And cutting the grass in a cemetery is a way of keeping people at work. The American side of the Corozal Cemetery, for example, because there is an American side where the U.S. takes care of that, the U.S. Embassy is taking care of that, and they've contracted and they have workers coming in and they're maintaining their side. So that means that even in the midst of this pandemic, there are people who are still working, and we want as many people who are possibly able to work to have them working.
Yeah.
And this is an area where people could be working and doing what's necessary.
Absolutely, Arcelio. And how can people, people that are listening now and listening to your story, how can they get involved? How can they help right now?
Well, there are a couple of ways. We have reached out, and we would like folks who would want to be a part of Sankofa, want to be a part of CGM, to be able to call in or contact us and get involved with what we're doing. We'd also like for people to refer us to folks who could be part of the oral history, folks who are over that age group and their minds are still somewhat sharp, and we can question them and ask them to give us an insight into how their years of growing up experiences were. So we want them to give us those references as well. And in any of those, people can contact. We have an email address, a website for Sankofa, which is Pan-Caribbean Sankofa at gmail.com, and they can contact us in that fashion, or they can also write to us at that same area, Pan-Caribbean Sankofa at gmail.com, or they can write to us at CGM Pan-Caribbean Sankofa. If they're in the U.S., they can go to P.O. Box 780-629, and that's in Orlando, Florida, 32878-0629. A lot of folks here, they're very familiar with a name that I would call Carmela.
Absolutely, yes.
And if folks even just contact Carmela is a part of our group, and she can always lead them into the connection. So when people might forget all these little details I'm giving, I'm going to throw that name out there, and I didn't even ask Carmela's permission, but I know she would not object.
Don't worry, she's been on here promoting.
It's a sort of household name for
exactly.
all the activities that we do. So if they're just willing to be a part, if they have someone that they think, hey, would be interested, you want to interview my aunt, you want to interview my grandmother, grandpa, give us a call, get in touch with us. We'll gladly reach out, and we want to collect as many of these histories as we possibly can.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful, Arcelio. And as I say, it's really sad because we have this conversation every year, and it's always the same. I know they have volunteer days to go there and clear up the cemeteries, but that's not the point. There is a requirement, and there should be a certain amount of pride involved here.
There should be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, look, I'll say we're going to put a lot of that information on our website today as well, so people can check it out there. And where are you based? Are you here in Panama, or?
I am here in Panama. I actually live in Panama City, and so I'm here, and a couple others group. The group actually, of course, has a mainstay portion that's in the United States. Francis Yearwood, who is the founder of the group, she lives in Florida. And we have a couple others who are there in Florida, but it's growing, and we're starting to get other folks involved, and we have folks on the West Coast in California.
Amazing. That
are getting involved, and they're throwing in their support. And even here in Panama, we have other folks who have become part of the interviewer team. And so we have several who are reaching out to be part of interviewing people.
Oh, wonderful.
Here in the community, and we've got that rolling as well.
Well, if there's any help we can give you in that respect, or if you want help with editing or anything like that, you just know where to contact us.
Gerry, we appreciate it so much, and we just want to thank you because for years you have been a really strong support of the things that we're doing. We have had several opportunities to be on your show and to talk and to express and to let the community become aware of what the efforts that are being made, and you have been always very gracious in allowing us that. We want to thank you.
Not at all. Not at all. It's my pleasure. Say I guess my only regret is we talk about the same thing every year. And
unfortunately. Unfortunately. That's saddened for us, but it's not going to discourage us. We're going to continue. We're going to make this effort, and we're going to get new people involved so that if we get tired, there's going to be new blood and new strength to keep it going.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need to get the youngsters involved.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, people of our age.
We have a few of them have come on board. In fact, the website that is being managed is managed by one of our youth or younger persons, and they're doing a wonderful job.
Oh, excellent.
Amber Harris, there in California.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to give a shout out to her as well and congratulate her and thank her for the effort and the work that she's doing. And so we're really aiming at that. We're aiming to get a new block of younger folks involved because they're becoming excited as they hear the history, things that we're doing.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
They're becoming appreciative of who they are because of what happened in the past and where they're coming from. So that's what we want. We want to create that link to the past so that people will not lose pride of what happened that makes them a part of what they are today.
That's wonderful. I mean, any plans? I mean, when you have your interviews, I mean, you could put them on the website as well for people to listen to.
We are planning where that's part of what's going to be happening. It's going to be on the website. People will be able to access it. In fact, the university is going to take these and digitalize them, and it will be available worldwide.
Oh, that's excellent.
Reach in and just from wherever corner of the world they are, access it through links and be able to hear all this rich history of the past. And so, yes, this is what we're aiming at. We're in the starting. We're beginning. We started our interviews just about maybe about a month, maybe 2 months ago. We started actually doing the interviews, but it's moving along. We're excited about what's happening and about what has been accomplished so far, and it encourages us. It encourages us. And so we're moving forward, and we thank you again for this opportunity.
Anytime.
To let the community hear about it, and we ask them if it touches you, what we're saying, if it reaches your heart and you want to be a part, reach out, contact us. In fact, I can even leave my telephone number.
Okay.
It's 66724548. Arcelio Hartley, and folks can contact me directly. And we can take it from there. We'll encourage them to.
That's excellent, Arcelio. And again, sad thing is, it's a university in Florida that's taking the lead on this, and not in Panama.
Well, yes, we're really happy. We're appreciative of the graciousness in which they received us, and I must say that because they didn't have it to. They really did not have to open their doors to us in this time. But we have sat and talked with them, and they said, we want to correct. We want to really give. We want to give the true story. We don't want to give a part side. We want it to be as complete as possible, and so we're willing to reach out and do that. And they're supportive. They're funding much of this effort. They're providing for the funds for us to reach out and get this collected and get it in there so that they can put it in a digital form and make it available to everyone else. So we do want to thank the University of Florida in that regards, and their folks that are working there now at this point, John Nemmers and his staff that are there in the University of Florida. They're doing an outstanding job of giving us as much support as we need in getting this project.
All right, well, Arcelio, it's great. Congratulations to you and to all of you guys at CGM and now Pan Sankofa. And I hope when we get this panavirus, whatever you want to call it. I've been sitting here since March now. Yes. I can't even remember what day of the week it is, let alone what month it is. But let's hope when this is over, you can come in and chat with us and have a little bit of good news for us. Mind you, it'll probably be
I would look forward to that. And Gerry, just let me take a quick, not just to take advantage, so people would know, Sankofa is a word that comes from the Ghana tribe in Africa.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And it's a bird. It's a bird that actually, when you look at the figure of Sankofa, and people can Google it, you see a bird that its head is looking back, and its feet are facing forward. So it's an idea, a concept of looking back, reaching back to the past as you move forward. And so this is what this oral history is doing. It's looking back, reaching back to what's in the past as we move forward, and we're strengthened by the past to face the future. And so that's so if people wonder, Sankofa, what does it mean? It's this Ghana word.
Okay, interesting story.
Yes.
So I'll have to look that up. Put a picture of the birdie on the website today.
That's right.
Arcelio, thanks so very much for taking the time to chat with us this morning.
And for having us. Have a great day, Joe.
And you. And good luck to all of you.
Thank you very much.
And keep safe.
Thank you. So you do the same, Jerry.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Thank you. There we go, Arcelio with us this morning here on the Breakfast Show. What a great job that they're doing.